Well, for the past 3 years, Oklahoma's Department of Energy has sponsored a conference called GROW, all in an effort to help grow the state's biofuels industry. And that's where I sat down with recently appointed Secretary of Energy, Bobby Wagner. Well, Bobby, the dramatic rise that we saw in energy prices this past year, do you think it has focused Americans on the need for alternative fuels?
Well, I think certainly it has. I think there are a lot of reasons that we need to be developing alternative fuels, but I think for the general public, price is the most significant indicator or awareness factor that will turn the average everyday American to focusing on new energy technologies like alternative fuels.
Where are we at right now? If the U.S. was 100% energy independent, and that would be 100, are we 10% there, 25% there?
I think 10% would be excessive. I mean, I don't think we're beyond 10%. I think it's important to remember that the United States is never going to be energy independent. People who mention that are misguided. It's a political statement. It's impossible to be energy independent. But it's critical that we are less dependent than we currently are. Right now, the U.S. is transferring somewhere between $500 to $700 billion a year in order to pay for imported oil. That number depends on what the price ends up being on an annualized basis. But in any event, that's at least 5 times the budget for the Iraq War. So it's okay that we look to other countries like Canada and Mexico, for example, for large portions of our oil imports. What we have to focus on, what we have to curtail, are the countries that we go to after Canada and Mexico in order to bring in oil.
Oklahoma is a very unique state. It has this rich energy history. Do you see us being able to continue that with biofuels?
Absolutely. I think Oklahoma's energy future is as positive today as it was 100 years ago when we were just beginning with oil. There are going to be great advancements in technology and research and encouragement from state and federal governments that allow Oklahoma to be a leader not only in oil and natural gas production, but in areas like wind energy and biofuels.
Talk to me a little bit about wind energy. One of the things I've always heard, the chief challenge we have is the transmission lines.
That's absolutely correct. The biggest issue with wind is it blows generally in rural, unpopulated areas, and so you have to have the infrastructure in place to move that wind energy from an unpopulated area to a population center that can capture that energy. It's just like producing oil and natural gas in rural areas, moving it through pipelines to areas where the demand is for that oil and gas. We have to do the same thing with wind.